Hello everybody. Today we're going to do a directed drawing and we'll make a couple different kinds of ocean animals. Feel free to pause this video whenever you need to and give yourself a little bit of time to catch up. I'm going to start off drawing with a pencil and then I'll trace over my pencil drawings with a pen and finally add my color. I'm going to start off drawing a sea turtle. So my first step is to put an oval shape for the shell. Once I got that, I'll put another little oval up top for the head and connect that to the shell. I'm going to make some flippers on either side, and I make these come out far, and then on the bottom side of the flipper I put a wavy line. For the back flippers I make them smaller than those front flippers, and finally a little tail at the end. When I start the pattern on the shell, I put an oval inside of that first oval that we drew so that we have a little border around the edge. And then I'm going to make a pattern inside the shell, repeating these shapes down the middle, and finally connecting to the outside of the shell. So from each of those little corners that are sticking out, I draw a line that connects that to the outside of the shell. And now I'll go ahead and outline with my pen. Next up, I'm going to draw an orca, and I'm starting off with another oval, this time going long ways. I'm going to make a couple of lines that come off, curving slightly down for the tail. And I'll finish up that tail. Draw a big triangle shape for the fin on top. I add just a little bit there on the left side of my oval, and a sort of oval shaped fin at the bottom. Here I'm going to draw the mouth and the big marking that goes by the eye, as well as the marking on the underside. And I'll go ahead and outline that with my pen. And when I get to the mouth, I'm going to put a little bump on the outside there. So right where the mouth closes, I put a little bump on the top and also underneath. Next, a shark. So again, starting with another oval, and then on one side of my oval, I make a pointy shape that comes out pretty far away, and on the other side, another pointy shape that's a little bit shorter. On top, I put another fin, but this time I make a little notch at the bottom, and I'll put a fin on the bottom as well. On the long side, I put a tail, and on the other side, I will make the face. So I'm going to give this shark a smile. Put some pointy teeth in there. I'll put a circle for an eye, and I'll make him kind of have an angry eye. And again, adding my outline with the pen. And while I do this outline, I'm going to add a couple things. I'm going to add a little dot for the nose, as well as a squiggly line that goes all the way down the middle of the shark, around the mouth, and I put a couple of gills in there. And then continue that squiggly line all the way to the tail. And finally, I will draw a seahorse. So again, I'll start with an oval for the body. And next at the bottom, I'm going to put a spiraling tail. Put a little fin on the back. And then a couple curved lines to make my neck. And when I get to the head and the face of this seahorse, I'm going to give it a long nose and then a little spike on the top of its head. A circular eye. And when I get to my outline, I'm going to make a wavy line that goes all around the body of the seahorse. Since I traced everything with pen, I can go ahead and erase all of my pencil lines before I add on my color. Alright, I'm going to start coloring in my sea turtle, and I'm using a light minty green. Putting that on the head, and the flippers, and the tail. Next I'll use my dark green, and I'm going to add scales to this turtle. And when I add these scales, I like to use a mixture of big dots and small dots, so different sized dots, and I just put those all over the head and the flippers to make some scales on this sea turtle. So some big dots, some small dots, all over the turtle. Next color I will use is brown, and I'm going to color in the shell. And as I color in this shell, I'm using a certain pattern in each space of the shell. And it kind of looks like a cartoon sun. So I draw my little cartoon sun inside of each space, and then I color in the top part brown. I will also put a little brown in that border going around the shell. And finally, I will add a little bit of orange to this shell. As I color in my orca, I'm choosing a dark color. It's almost black, but I went with a very dark gray. And I am using one little trick here, and that is that I leave a little space of white towards the edge of the orca. So completely coloring this in, except for that little space of white that I left around the edge. And final touch on my orca, I'm going to add a little shadow just on the bottom. I'm going for a yellow on my shark, and I'm using that same little trick that I used on the orca, leaving a small white gap along the top of the shark. I'll also use that same super light color to put a little shadow at the bottom of the shark. Put a little darker color underneath that eye as well. And I'll go ahead and get wacky with it and put some stripes on my shark. And I'll put some stripes on the fins as well. And inside of that white gap that I left at the top, I'm picking out a real light pink, and I'm just continuing those stripes. Alright, finally the seahorse. I'm going to use another little trick when I color in this seahorse. I'm going to put a pattern of squares going all down the body. So as I color this in, drawing little squares and making it go all the way down the tail. And I'll color in that head all orange. And then continue with my squares, this time making them go all the way to the edge. And where it gets real small at the end of the tail, I'm sort of just filling that in. Color in that fin on the back. And now I'm picking out a red and gonna add some red to the face of this seahorse, and then a little bit in each of these squares. So I basically make an edge of the square have some red in it.